So it has been a few days since War Tycoon has released a brand new F18 update. However, this update has to be one of the best updates that they have done in a long time because they have introduced so many cool quality of life changes. However, there has been a few different opinions regarding the new tank scope change, which does actually seem to ruin the game a little bit. So in today's video, guys, I'll be talking about it and I'll be going through why the new tank scope system actually makes the tanks way more unplayable and why it is very difficult to actually go through it. But I'll also be giving suggestions on how to fix it, and this video is just purely gonna be based on my opinion and no hate to developers because we love what they do. Alrighty, so jumping right into the game, as you guys know, I'm gonna be just going into the Abrams X or just really any modern tank. The developers have decided to change the scope, as most of us know. So if we do go ahead and take a look how this scope looks like, it's really cool, but as you guys can see, the main problem with this scope is the turning is god-awful. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if this is done on purpose and if this was actually done for the good of the game or something, but for now, it is absolutely difficult to actually turn the scope if we just stand still. Like previously, it was actually way easier to turn it, because if we do go outside, as you guys can see, just turning the tank is so much faster if we do go outside of the scope. And let's go ahead and actually go into settings and put the camera sensitivity to literally 4, which is the maximum you can get on Roblox. And as you guys can see, I'm turning so instantly quick. But if we do go ahead and go into the tank scope, this is the only way to make the tank scope slightly more bearable. If we do go outside of it, though, it becomes quite impossible to move. So pretty much, it's almost impossible to do sniping with tanks anymore. And you guys might wonder why this was done. Well, I'm gonna be giving you guys a few suggestions why. So the first opinion and reason why I think this was done by the devs, I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I'm just gonna act like it is for the sake of the video. I believe that they have decided to change this because they want to make the game much more realistic, which I completely agree with, and I believe the tanks should be more realistic, and the recent update has made the game a lot more realistic than it was before, which is absolutely great. However, the problem with the change is that right now the developers are kind of taking away from what the players are used to, which is actually not that good of a thing, because if you want your player base to stay consistently in the game, you have to kind of provide them with what they already know rather than just changing what they love. Changing what people love is never the right idea. Kind of a perfect example of this is literally sequels in Star Wars. Now, there are also many opinions saying that tanks should stay in a way that they shouldn't be able to shoot planes and helicopters out of the sky, which in a realistic sense, I could completely agree. However, we have to also consider the fact that right now, people are really used to and they really do love shooting stuff out of the sky, because as of now, it's pretty much impossible to deal with helicopters or planes that are in the sky on a lot more further distances. And while this update has came out, we all thought that this new scope would be helping out with that, since the planes and helicopters are much harder to shoot out of the sky after the brand new physics that they have been made to the game. And I believe that these physics were actually enough of a nerf to shooting stuff out of the sky, but now it's pretty much impossible to do that. So now in this current update, it's pretty much impossible for tanks to be able to deal with stuff that's in the sky, which pretty much makes tanks slightly more unplayable, which is actually incredibly annoying for most players. And we do have to consider the game doesn't have to be super realistic for it to be fun to play. I believe the way that the scopes have worked previously were absolutely amazing, because it actually called for so many cool and funny scenarios, which is what all of us actually loved about War Tycoon. So now the next thing I actually want to talk about is this hasn't actually been made a change to only tanks, but it's also been made a change to more of modernized vehicles in War Tycoon, giving an example of the LA VAD. So if we go ahead and actually try to zoom in, this problem seems to be the same. However, the turning is a lot better than it was for the tanks. As you guys can see, it's like way better than it was. And as you guys can see, the turning is actually a lot better than it is with tanks. It's much more controllable, which is nice to see. But if we do go ahead and even check out a different vehicle, so let's go ahead and use something like the Mephisto, which is more of a modernized vehicle as well. It has exactly the same problem with the tanks, because now it's way harder to also shoot stuff down, and I feel like this change just hits the overall sniping meta so much more than it was before. Like, stuff is just pretty much impossible now. Like, I guess I can control it somewhat, but let's say the plane goes in quick, since they are very quick vehicles, you cannot just make a quick maneuver and shoot something out of the sky as well. Anyway guys, now I'll actually be giving some ideas to the developers, because I know that the developers definitely watched this video and they are taking notes of what I'm saying, and which I actually appreciate, by the way. It's very nice to see many devs watch this video. So I'm gonna be giving a few ideas on which the tank should be changed. So first of all, I believe the scope should be back to how it was before, not in a sense of graphics, but just in a sense of how big the sensitivity was. I believe the sensitivity should definitely be increased somewhat, maybe not to fully what it was before, but at least increase it by a decent margin, so shooting stuff out of the sky is actually much easier, and so it's balanced. Other idea which I do have is, in the next update, to make this more bearable, is to add an active protection system for tanks to actually be able to counter missiles and be able to counter stuff like planes and helicopters much better than they were before, because at this point the smoke is just simply not enough. Let's all be honest, active protection system is everything we need. But I believe for the time being, until they do add something like this into the game, I believe that this change should be reverted and the sensitivity should be increased. So for the time of the next, let's say 2 to 3 weeks until an update comes out, or even until an active protection system comes out, I believe we deserve to have the tanks back to how they were before in sensitivity. However, overall, at the end of the day, even if they do add an active protection system, personally, I believe that they should be keeping the sensitivity how it was before, because at the end of the day, the planes do have many abilities in which they can literally be able to kill tanks or just any ground vehicles which are much more modernized by just literally sneak attacking, because the way that the tanks kill the planes is by literally doing sneak attacks as well. So at the end of the day, it's all about who's smarter in the battlefield. Anyway, this is all gonna be my personal opinions on this change, which I hope that's gonna be coming to War Tycoon, because personally, I don't believe it to be good enough how it is right now. I just don't like this change, that the sensitivity is so bad right now, and I believe that this has to be a change which was made on purpose. But so far, it really does make the tanks unplayable, and I really do hope that the developers are taking notes on this video. I do appreciate this, and again, this is just my personal opinions, but I'm also speaking on behalf of the community. Anyway guys, we are almost at 10,000 subscribers, and if you guys would smash the subscribe button, I would very much appreciate support. I really do hope to get 10,000 subscribers today, and tomorrow I will be posting somewhat of a special video and etc. So stay tuned for that. And just a last huge gigantic thank you to all the channel members. Thank you so much to all you guys supporting me. If you'd like to become a channel member, feel free to do so. I very much appreciate it.